A three-time NBA champion just called LeBron's entire legacy a publicity stunt on national television.
LeBron and KD and Steve Nash did their little podcast thing, and they always drag the legacy of Michael Jordan.
What is it called? Was it Cry Me a River?
Cry Me a River, I think.
Cry Me a River podcast? Yeah. Oh, my God. I tell you what, man, listen. I was watching
Revisionist history, they should call it.
Yeah, you know what, Mark? Great players don't have to tell people they're great.
Yeah, that's true.
You let fans do that. You let people debate it on talk radio and podcasts. You know, players don't have to do that. You know, we all know you're great. You don't have to tell us. You know, when you have to go around trumpeting that you're great and what separates you from all the other people that makes you greater than them, that's a problem. You know, Michael Jordan his whole career played 78 games a year. And that's not even counting the playoffs when you're playing, you know, in the preseason. So you're talking about 115 games a year. That dude probably played in about 112 of those 115.
This isn't just another GOAT debate hot take. This is Michael Jordan's former teammate, a man with 3 championship rings who spent decades as the Bulls broadcaster, systematically dismantling everything LeBron's tried to build in the final years of his career. And what makes this different? King didn't hold back. He went after LeBron's podcast, his commercials, his longevity argument, even his decision to play with his SON.B. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this wasn't just criticism, it was a calculated message from the Jordan era to everyone who thinks the GOAT debate is even close.
End the debate, please. Here we go. 3 parts. One player has won the scoring title, regular season MVP, was first team defensive player, led the playoffs in scoring, and won the MVP in the finals. All 5 things. It's only happened 4 times in the NBA. You know who the 4 players who do it were? Jordan.
August 2025. Stacey King sits down for his podcast, Gimme the Hot Sauce, and he's clearly had enough. LeBron and Kevin Durant's Mind the Game podcast is playing in the background. The show's supposed to be about basketball IQ, strategy, and teaching the game. But King? He's not buying it. What's it called? Cry Me a River? The Cry Me a River podcast?
What is it called? Was it Cry Me a River?
Cry Me a River, I think.
Cry Me a River podcast? Yeah. Oh, my God. I tell you what, man, listen.
The sarcasm cuts through immediately. This isn't playful banter. This is someone who watched Michael Jordan dominate for a decade, someone who earned 3 rings in that dynasty, and he's watching LeBron try to control the narrative in real time, and he's disgusted by it. But here's what nobody's asking. Why now? Why is a Jordan teammate who's been relatively quiet for years suddenly going nuclear on LeBron?
So I'm not coming from a biased position where I'm just like, oh, that was my era, so I'm being biased. No, my eyes don't lie. I know what I've seen. And as great as LeBron is, and he's fantastic, but he ain't fucking with MJ. Just based off the eye test and the skill level and some of the stats and the heart, nah, yo, no. I saw MJ play from his prime to his retirement. I saw Kobe play from his prime to his retirement. I've seen LeBron from his prime to his eventual retirement. How this young generation is so dismissive of this stat when they go, well, LeBron James has been to the finals this many, and he won this many times, but he's been this many times.
Let's set the stage properly. Stacey King isn't some random talking head desperate for clicks. He played 10 seasons in the NBA, won 3 championships with the Bulls from 1991 to 1993, and has been the Bulls color commentator since 2006. He's called hundreds of LeBron games throughout the 2010s when LeBron was dominating the Eastern Conference. He knows greatness when he sees it, but throughout 2024 and 2025, something shifted. LeBron launched Mind the Game with JJ Redick in March 2024, a podcast designed to focus on basketball strategy and IQ instead of the constant narrative debates. On the surface, it seemed noble. LeBron claimed he was frustrated with the media's obsession with legacy talk and wanted to elevate the conversation. The podcast was actually successful. Millions of views, positive reception. When Redick became the Lakers head coach in June 2024, the show paused. Then in March 2025, LeBron relaunched it with Steve Nash. Around the same time, LeBron appeared in a Nike commercial calling himself the Forever King. Not the greatest. Not a legend. The Forever King, as in, the debate is over. That's when the Jordan guys started talking. Horace Grant called it self-idolatry. Scottie Pippen had previously questioned why LeBron needs to tell everyone he's great. But Stacey King? He took it to another level, and here's the part casual fans missed. King had been building to this for months. In April 2025, he shared a Charlie Kirk clip on social media that blamed LeBron for the NBA's declining ratings. In May, he stated LeBron would never surpass Kobe, Kareem, or Wilt. In September, he mocked LeBron's Nike ad with Horace Grant. This wasn't a one-time rant. This was a pattern. But here's where it gets interesting. When you actually listen to King's full August rant about the Crimea River podcast, he drops a line that completely reframes everything. Great players don't have to tell people they're great. You let fans do that. You let people debate it on talk radio and podcasts. Players don't have to do that.
Great players don't have to tell people they're great.
Yeah, that's true.
You let fans do that. You let people debate it on talk radio and podcasts. Players don't have to do that.
Wait, read that again. King isn't mad that LeBron started a podcast. He's mad at what LeBron is doing on the podcast. See, Mind the Game was marketed as pure basketball analysis, X's and O's, film study, strategy breakdowns. But according to King, underneath all that educational content was something else, legacy management. During the Kevin Durant episode in 2025, LeBron and KD discussed how longevity should matter more than championships in GOAT debates. They talked about how modern players face scrutiny their predecessors never dealt with. They subtly pushed back against the Jordan would average 50 in today's league narratives. To casual fans, it seemed like thoughtful conversation. To Stacey King, it was propaganda disguised as education. And here's the kicker, King wasn't entirely wrong. LeBron literally said in March 2024 that he started the podcast because he was very frustrated with the daily comparisons every single day and wanted to change the conversation. He wasn't trying to avoid legacy talk, he was trying to control it. King saw through it immediately, and he had the perfect platform to call it out. But King didn't stop at the podcast. He went after the one argument LeBron fans always fall back on, longevity. Sure, being in the league 20+ years takes dedication and hard work, but he failed to mention the load management and the fact that in his entire career, he's only played 82 games 3 times. And LeBron? He's only done it once. This is where King's inside knowledge becomes a weapon. He's not just throwing out stats, he's attacking the foundation of LeBron's case for GOAT status. Because here's what LeBron's camp has been pushing for years, that his ability to play at an elite level into his 40s, accumulating all-time records in points and other categories, proves a different kind of greatness than Jordan's peak dominance. King's counterargument is brutal in its simplicity. You can't claim longevity as your trump card when you've strategically rested for huge portions of your career. Jordan played 82 games 9 times. When you add playoffs and finals runs, that's 115+ games in a single season. LeBron's played a full 82-game season once, and before LeBron fans say that's smart load management, King already addressed that. When you have to go around trumpeting your greatness and trying to separate yourself from others by tearing them down, that's a problem. Translation, if you're really the greatest, the numbers would speak without the asterisks. But here's what makes King's criticism especially cutting, he went after Kevin Durant too. King pointed out that KD hasn't won a championship since leaving the Warriors and Steph Curry. The Nets super team? Failed. The Suns run? Failed. According to King, Durant can't win without being carried, yet he's on LeBron's podcast talking about legacy. The message was clear. LeBron surrounds himself with people who'll validate his narrative, not challenge it. Behind closed doors, people around the NBA noticed. According to multiple reports, several coaches, particularly black coaches, privately criticized Mind the Game for undermining Darvin Ham while he was on the hot seat as Lakers coach. Stephen A. Smith reported this publicly. The optics were terrible. LeBron launching a basketball strategy podcast with a potential coaching candidate while his actual coach was struggling. Ham was fired after the 2024 playoffs. Redick became a leading candidate and eventually got the job. Coincidence? King didn't think so. The fallout from King's comments was immediate and divided exactly how you'd expect. LeBron fans called King bitter, jealous, and irrelevant. Jordan fans shared the clips everywhere, treating King like a prophet speaking uncomfortable truths. But here's what actually happened that nobody talks about. LeBron went silent. No tweets. No podcast response. No cryptic Instagram stories. Nothing. And for someone who's been vocal about defending his legacy, someone who trolled Brian Windhorst for criticizing Mind the Game, someone who fired back at Stephen A. Smith multiple times, the silence was deafening. Why? Because responding would have proven King's point. If LeBron acknowledged the criticism, he'd be doing exactly what King accused him of, constantly defending himself instead of letting the work speak. It was a no-win situation, and LeBron knew it. Meanwhile, King kept going. In September 2025, when LeBron's Forever King Nike commercial dropped, King appeared on his podcast with Horace Grant and called it cringe. Grant was more diplomatic, saying LeBron should just let it happen instead of promoting himself so aggressively, but King was done with diplomacy. The commercial showed LeBron in various iconic moments with the tagline positioning him as the eternal king of basketball. For Jordan's former teammates, this wasn't confidence, it was desperation. As King put it, "We all know you're great, you don't have to tell us." And then King dropped his nuclear take, LeBron will never be greater than Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Will Chamberlain. Not might not be. Will never be. That's not analysis. That's a verdict from someone who knows what greatness looks like up close. The broader consequences rippled through basketball media. Suddenly, everyone was talking about whether modern superstars are too concerned with legacy management. Podcasts, commercials, social media control, documentary series, are these athletes building their legends or desperately trying to manufacture them? King's criticism also exposed a generational rift that goes beyond basketball. The 1990s champions believe greatness was proven on the court through dominance, championships, and moments that needed no explanation. LeBron's generation believes greatness needs to be contextualized, explained, and understood through advanced analytics, longevity metrics, and career totality. Neither side is entirely wrong. But King's point was simple. Michael Jordan never had to explain why he was great. Everyone just knew. Here's the uncomfortable truth that most people won't say out loud. Stacey King is criticizing LeBron for something Jordan's team did better than anyone: controlling the narrative. Think about it. The Last Dance documentary, released in 2020, was the most sophisticated legacy management project in sports history. It wasn't objective. It was a carefully crafted narrative that painted Jordan as the unquestioned GOAT, minimized his teammates' contributions, and reframed his gambling and competitiveness as positive traits. Jerry Krause became a villain. Scottie Pippen's role was downplayed. The documentary was produced with Jordan's full cooperation and approval, and it worked perfectly. So when King criticizes LeBron for trying to control his narrative through a podcast and commercials, there's a massive irony. Jordan did the exact same thing, just more effectively. The difference? Jordan waited until he was retired. He let a decade pass after his last championship before releasing The Last Dance. LeBron is doing it in real time, while still playing, which makes it feel more desperate and transparent. But here's where King actually has a legitimate point. LeBron's approach undermines itself. The more he talks about being great, the more it seems like he's not secure in his greatness. Jordan's mystique came from silence. He didn't explain, he didn't defend. He just dominated and let everyone else argue about it. When LeBron said in 2016 after the Cavs championship comeback, "I'm the greatest player in the world," it felt earned. When he calls himself the Forever King in a commercial in 2025, 9 years after his last championship, playing with his son on a lottery-bound Lakers team, it feels different. And that's King's entire argument in one sentence. Great players don't need to remind you they're great. Now, let's talk about the longevity debate, because this is where it gets genuinely complicated. LeBron is about to turn 41 and is still averaging over 20 points per game. That's historically unprecedented. No player in NBA history has maintained that level of production at that age. From a pure longevity standpoint, it's remarkable, but King's counterpoint about load management isn't wrong either. LeBron has been strategic about preserving his body in ways Jordan never was. Whether that makes him smarter or less tough depends on your perspective. Jordan played through flu games, broken ribs, and exhaustion. LeBron sits out games strategically to be fresh for the playoffs. Both approaches have merit, but only one feels more legendary to people like Stacey King. Here's another layer nobody wants to address. The NBA was more popular during Jordan's era. That's just factual. Ratings were higher. Cultural impact was bigger. The league was must-watch television in the 1990s in a way it hasn't been since. LeBron's career coincided with cord-cutting, streaming fragmentation, and the decline of appointment television. It's not his fault the media landscape changed, but the result is the same: fewer people are watching. When Charlie Kirk made that argument in the clip King shared, people dismissed it as political bias. But the underlying data is real. NBA viewership has declined. Whether that's because of LeBron, player empowerment, super teams, or just broader entertainment competition is debatable. But King and the Jordan generation can point to the numbers and say, the league was bigger when our guy played. LeBron's statistical dominance is undeniable. All-time leading scorer, top 5 in assists, 20-plus seasons of elite play, for championships with 3 different franchises. But King's argument isn't about the resume, it's about the intangibles. Killer instinct, mystique, cultural impact. The fear opposing players felt. That's where the debate becomes unwinnable. You can't quantify mystique. You can't measure intimidation in advanced analytics. LeBron's fans will point to stats. Jordan's fans will point to feeling. Neither side will ever convince the other. But here's what makes King's criticism so effective. He's not arguing Jordan was better. He's arguing LeBron is disrespecting the debate by trying to end it himself. And that's a much harder thing for LeBron to defend against. There's one element of King's criticism that we haven't fully addressed yet. LeBron James. Remember the Charlie Kirk clip King shared? One of Kirk's most inflammatory lines was, "You're the GOAT when you don't have to keep on playing till you're 40, and don't have to give your kid some special job just because you're a billionaire." King didn't distance himself from that take. He amplified it. Now, is that fair? LeBron playing with Bronny on the Lakers was a historic father-son moment in sports. It's genuinely unprecedented in the NBA. But King's generation sees it differently. They see nepotism disguised as legacy building. Here's why that criticism stings. Bronny wasn't a lottery pick. He wasn't even a first-round pick. He went 55th overall in the 2024 draft, and many analysts questioned whether he belonged in the NBA at all. Yet the Lakers drafted him anyway, and he ended up on the same roster as his father. LeBron has said repeatedly that playing with his son was a personal dream, not about basketball. But when you're simultaneously calling yourself the forever king and pushing GOAT narratives, everything becomes part of your legacy story. And the optics of forcing your son onto an NBA roster while your team is struggling doesn't look like humility, it looks like privilege. Jordan never did anything like this. His sons didn't make the NBA. When Marcus Jordan tried to play professionally, Michael didn't pull strings to get him opportunities. That's the contrast King is drawing. Whether it's fair is another question. LeBron has earned the right to make requests after 22 years of excellence. But it feeds into King's larger narrative. LeBron is more concerned with crafting his story than just being great. So where does this leave us? Stacey King's criticism of LeBron James is really about something bigger: the death of mystique in modern sports. In Jordan's era, fans got carefully curated glimpses of greatness. Press conferences, games, commercials, locker rooms were closed. Social media didn't exist. Players couldn't control their narrative directly, so legends were built organically through performance and mystery. LeBron's generation has access to everything: podcasts, Instagram, Twitter, documentary series. Athletes can tell their own stories in real time, but the cost of that access is mystique. When you can hear LeBron's unfiltered thoughts on basketball strategy every week, when you can watch him interact with his son on the bench, when you can see him respond to criticism on social media, he becomes more human and less mythological. Jordan remained a myth because he stayed distant. LeBron is trying to be a myth while remaining accessible. And King's argument is that you can't be both. The irony? LeBron started Mind the Game because he was frustrated with narrative-based debates. He wanted to move the conversation toward basketball IQ and strategy. But in doing so, he proved he cares deeply about the conversation, which undermines his own point. If LeBron truly didn't care about the GOAT debate, he wouldn't need a podcast to elevate the discourse. He wouldn't need Nike commercials calling him the forever king. He'd just play, retire, and let history decide, but he can't do that. None of the modern stars can, because in the social media age, if you don't control your narrative, someone else will. And LeBron learned that lesson the hard way after the decision in 2010. Who's right? King or LeBron? The answer is, it doesn't matter, because the debate itself is the product. Sports media needs the GOAT argument to generate content. Fans need it to fuel their tribal loyalties. Players need it to maintain relevance. Everyone benefits from the debate continuing forever except for one person, Michael Jordan. Because as long as the debate exists, he remains in the conversation without ever having to defend himself, and that's exactly the position LeBron is trying to reach. But the harder he tries to get there, the further away it seems. Stacey King understands this instinctively. He played with Jordan. He watched him manipulate narratives without ever appearing to manipulate narratives. He saw the masterclass in legacy building through silence, and when he looks at LeBron, brilliant, accomplished, historically great LeBron, he doesn't see someone who learned from Jordan's blueprint. He sees someone who's trying to rewrite it. And to King, that's the ultimate disrespect. So what happens next? LeBron is approaching the end. Whether it's this season, next season, or the one after, his career is in its final chapter. And when he retires, the real debate begins. Not the one he's trying to control, but the one that happens after he's gone. Will people remember the 4 championships and all-time scoring record? Or will they remember the finals losses, the super teams, the constant narrative management? That's the legacy question LeBron can't answer with another podcast episode or Nike commercial. It'll be decided by generations of fans who weren't even born when he started playing. Stacey King won't be around to see the final verdict, but he's made his position clear. Jordan's mystique was built in silence. LeBron's legacy is being built in real time, with full transparency and constant explanation, and in King's world, that's not how legends are made. But here's the twist that makes this story even darker. In 20 years, will anyone care what Stacey King said? Will Jordan's teammates' opinions matter when LeBron's resume speaks for itself? Or will King's criticism become the exact type of narrative noise LeBron was trying to escape in the first place? The answer might actually determine who wins the GOAT debate forever. And if you think this situation exposed the fault lines in how we remember greatness, the next story is going to blow your mind. Because what happened between Jordan and Scottie Pippen after The Last Dance aired makes the LeBron debate look like a friendly disagreement. That's the ugliest falling out in NBA history, and most fans still don't know the real story.